that friend you have? The girl who seems to have it all figured out. She's got the great job, the great guy, the great life. Well, I'm not that girl.
Hello everyone, welcome to this little corner of the internet. If you are new, well, thank you so much for tuning in. It's lovely to have you here. Feel free to have a bit of a squiz at this channel as we're kind of popping off lately. And if you're returning just as well, thank you so much for coming back. It means more than you know. Before we dive in, I did just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who watched my previous work and purpose video. It's really heartwarming to see how much it resonated with so many people, and just thank you for taking the time to watch it. And if you subscribed as a result, hopefully this video takes your fancy as well. Speaking of, hello new subscribers, thank you for joining the family. It's great to have you. While this video's subject matter is a bit more of a light one, I reckon that if you stick around, it'll give you just as much to think about and reflect on as my previous video, as we're talking about the hit, at least in my eyes, Canadian TV show Being Erica.
She's an icon. She's a legend, and she is the moment.
This show is about a woman, Erica Strange, who begins seeing a therapist to process her regrets in life, only to discover that her therapist can actually send her back in time to relive those regrets. And not only do that, but change them as well. This show's unique premise means that as Erica's also going through her life and learning and growing, you as a viewer are also doing that as well through the philosophical concepts that the show introduces you to. The show is quite literally
free therapy
and serves a similar purpose as The Good Place, where with every episode it's teaching you a lesson just by the structure of the show. So like with The Good Place, it's based around how to be a good person. With Being Erica, it's how you can be the best version of yourself. You'd think with such an enticing premise as this one that it would have the same cult following as The Good Place, right? Well, if only that were true. It's a show that barely anyone I know has seen. I can't find it on any streaming services. The only real way I can find to consume it is either via DVD, and let's be real, who watches those anymore? Or on this very platform that you're watching this on. That's right, YouTube has every single episode of Being Erica free to consume.
Yes, Gaga, you look so good.
The lack of recognition for this show truly makes zero sense to me, as Being Erica is so beloved by those who watch it.
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular.
So the reason behind this video is similar to my Anger Songs and Perfect Snogging video. This video is simply just to introduce this show to the world and demonstrate how transformative and fantastic Being Erica is, and why it deserves so much more recognition than it did while it was even airing. To avoid making this video multiple hours long, as well as also maintain some of that magic of watching this show yourself, we won't be talking about every single episode, but we'll be discussing specific episodes that I felt had really resonant and influential lessons for me personally, because this show just taught me so much growing up, and is a show I consistently still, even to this day, continue to go back to if it's that I need a refresher of one of the lessons that it taught, or I just need some home comforts. So without further ado, let's get into it. Being Erica was a Canadian TV show created by Janice Signor and was released at the start of 2009 and ended at the end of 2011. The show had a very mid reception by both Canada and the world, an absolute
crime,
may I say, and ran for 4 seasons that contained 49 episodes in total, with each episode being around 45 minutes long. While it didn't get widespread recognition, TV producers in both the US and the UK did see the promise of the show, with plans for adaptations being announced but never coming to fruition, which personally I think is a good thing, as TV adaptations of other shows just in different countries rarely do actually go down that well. Since the show has ended, even today it continues to be held in high regard by its beloved fan base and continues to be watched on YouTube with very low quality. It's clearer inside of me who I will always be. Season 1 really laid the foundations for the basic formula that being Erica would follow, which is that Erica would have a situation in her current life, revisit an old regret, and then learn a lesson from that experience that actually applies to her present day. In the pilot episode titled Dr. Tom, we get introduced to a Miss Erica Strange, who is a 32-year-old woman that is quite unsatisfied with how her life has turned out. And she chalks all of this up to her bad decision making in her past. In the span of the first 10 minutes, we see Erica going through the absolute trenches. She gets fired from her call center job, stood up on her date, and hospitalized after getting an anaphylactic shock from her peanut allergy. Sis is clearly going through it until Dr. Tom visits her at the hospital and we get this iconic jingle that signals therapy. Dr. Tom tells Erica that he's a therapist and gives her his card.
It's the feeling that nothing seems to work out for you. Still single, all those nights alone with the cat, all your successful married friends feeling bad for you. Am I getting warm?
After a lunch, when Erica exits the hospital and is made to feel even shitter about herself than she already does, she goes to find Dr. Tom's office, and in her first session with him, he explains how therapy works.
Whatever it is that you are unhappy about, I can fix it. And all I ask from you is that you make a commitment. So you're gonna have to agree to see things through to the very end. And I, for my part, will promise you that you will emerge from therapy with your problem solved.
Erica agrees to do therapy and begins explaining to Dr. Tom how she has made a lot of bad choices in her life, and she feels like this is what has led her to where she is today. So Dr. Tom gets Erica to write out a list of all of her regrets. He chooses a regret where in high school, Erica and her friends got really drunk at a dance and she passed out, which basically signaled the start of her reputational decline, where everyone started to look at her really differently. Dr. Tom proceeds to ask her what she would do differently if she were to go back, and while explaining this, Erica freaking time travels back to that time.
Help me.
Absolutely freaking out, because who wouldn't? And with no Dr. Tom to guide her, Erica then realizes that if she just does it differently, as she was talking about in therapy, she'll be able to go home. However, this doesn't exactly go according to plan, as Erica ends up actually making an even bigger fool of herself at the school dance by, long story short, having to run through the gymnasium fully naked in order to get help for her friend who has passed out drunk. And this causes her reputation to decline anyway. When she returns to the present, Erica confronts Dr. Tom, furious.
You set me up and I humiliated myself. Again, only this time I really gave everyone something to talk about.
To which we get the first lesson of the series.
It's your parents' opinions and your friends' opinions. Yeah, of course. They're always gonna matter. They just don't matter as much as your own.
And thus begins Erica's journey with therapy. Episode 2, titled What I Am is What I Am, Erica's applying for jobs in the publishing industry as she is very passionate about books. When doing this, she actually runs into an old nemesis of hers, Antigone, who actually is now a very successful figure in the publishing world. And we learn that this is basically because Antigone was part of a secret society at her and Erica's university that Erica was also asked to join but declined because the initiation process didn't really sit right with her. In her second therapy session, Erica is kind of kicking herself for this decision, as she feels had she stuck with that secret society, she would have ended up where Antigone is today.
Literati members like to help each other. And it doesn't hurt to have friends in high places, if you know what I mean.
When Dr. Tom takes her back to revisit this regret, Erica does in fact successfully join this society. However, she soon realizes that the initiation process she was so uncomfortable with before is only a small taster of this society's ruthlessness. After selling out a close friend of hers for the society's benefit, Erica actually learns that being part of this society is not really worth it, as it doesn't actually align to her values, and she quits.
You relish the humiliation. Degrading someone is fun for you. But that is not who I am. So I quit.
Also, super random side note, but Drake is in this episode.
I want to suck your blood.
I guess this was his actor debut, if you will. But anyway, I digress. In Dr. Tom's office, Erica learns how important that inner voice of yours, or like that gut instinct, is.
The minute that we begin to chip away at its integrity, the egg collapses in on itself until in the end we're left with only breakfast. It's still an egg, but it's not the same. chip away at what makes you, you, and you become something else. There are many ways to achieve our goals, Erica, but ignoring your inner voice is not one of them.
Episode 9, Everything She Wants, was a cultural reset. The lesson in this episode is irrelevant, okay? There is a reason that this episode is probably the most famous and popular episode of Being Erica. In this episode, Erica revisits a regret about a past best friend of hers who was gay and actually had a crush on Erica, but she waited too long to actually tell her that she wasn't interested, which ended up breaking that friend's heart, and as a result, they don't really talk anymore. Revisiting the past, Erica actually realizes that she does have a crush on Cassidy.
I'm not interested in girls. I've never been interested in girls, but I am bonkers about Cassidy. I mean, the way that I feel when I'm with her. I can't be into Cassidy. I'm not a lesbian.
Before we can get too excited, she does decide to just remain friends instead, which allows them to be friends in the current present day due to that open communication. I think why this episode resonated with so many people is because it handled the topic of kind of almost fluidity and sexuality better than a lot of shows would have back in the early 2000s.
Labels are for cans, not people. Anthony Rapp.
It also introduced us to this super sexy, outgoing, electric character that was Cassidy Holland, who was also unapologetically gay.
But the last time I spent this much on Crystal, she threw in a lap dance first.
Jumping to the season finale titled Leo, this one is quite an emotional one as it centers around the topic of grief and moving on from somebody who has passed away. Throughout the series, Erica has referenced her older brother Leo and has multiple interactions with him when she visits the past, which we get to see and see how meaningful this relationship was to her because Erica actually lost her brother Leo when he was 21 and she was only basically a teenager. So it definitely feels apt that the finale decides to focus on Leo and his death because it does seem like the series has been building up to this finale the whole time. So in the episode, Erica goes up to her grandparents' farm to be with her family on the anniversary of Leo's death. We learn that her family don't actually really talk about Leo's death and process what happened together, making the time that they do spend on this day quite heavy, tense, and uncomfortable to the point where Erica didn't even want to go in the first place. So to try something different, Erica suggests that her and her family rebuild the barn that Leo actually passed away in his memory. However, Erica's mom has a breakdown during this process and Erica ends up in Dr. Tom's office. Erica recounts the night that Leo died where him and his parents had a massive argument because he had decided to drop out of school. This argument ended up actually being the last time that any of the family ended up speaking to Leo before he died. And how he passed away was, long story short, the barn lit on fire while he was sleeping in it. So Dr. Tom explains to Erica, as he had done in the very first episode, that she can't actually go back to undo the regret of not getting up in time to save Leo, as it's not really her regret to undo, and there's just certain things within the parameters of therapy that you can't change. However, he does allow her to go and give Leo a final goodbye, a goodbye that she wishes she had given him before he passed away. So back in the past, after the fight, Erica tries to talk to Leo, but finds it way too hard, as I'm sure a lot of us would.
You have been an amazing brother. The best. Oh my God, this is so incredibly hard.
Erica, what's wrong? Why are you crying?
I can't do this.
And ends up throwing caution to the wind by basically preventing the barn from going on fire. As a result, this prevents Leo's death. Erica gets transported back to Dr. Tom's office, who is
Pissed.
Go.
Get out of my office. Get out.
Let go of me. You're hurting me.
It's giving weird, but the writers of this show leave absolutely nothing unexplained. The writers will come back to this, so we'll, as a result, come back to this. When Erica returns to the present, it is essentially all changed because in this reality, Leo is still alive. As a result, in this reality, Erica is extremely successful and a published author. When she goes to her childhood home, she finds a grown-ass Leo.
Oh my, sorry, I thought my mother lived here.
Erica? What's wrong?
Leo.
We learn that he is now an architect and has a fiance. Erica, however, only has very limited time with Leo because when he goes for dinner with his in-laws, Erica's family get a call from Leo's fiance telling them that he passed away in a car accident.
Annie, what's wrong?
When? Oh, are they sure it's Leo?
What happened?
A car accident. Leo.
She ends up back in Dr. Tom's office, who basically tells her that there are certain rules and laws of the universe, and this was just the universe's way of recorrecting itself. Erica, realizing her mistake, begs Dr. Tom to send her back to the original timeline so that she can do the right thing and say a proper goodbye to her brother. And Dr. Tom concedes. Back in the original past, Erica does get to console Leo after the fight and encourages him actually to write a letter to their parents. She then says a final goodbye.
Thanks, sis.
No worries.
Later on in the night, finds the letter, which she puts in Leo's cigarette case and buries it in front of the barn. Back in the present, after visiting the regret, Erica redigs up the cigarette case that had Leo's letter in it and gives it to her parents.
Even though I don't know what I want to do with my life, I don't think that matters. I know the kind of person I want to be, unafraid of a challenge and willing to face whatever comes. I love you guys. Leo.
Once they read it, they all finally actually start to talk about what a great person he was and begin to process his death.
Such a good kid.
An amazing brother. Yeah. He was never afraid of anything right from the start. He loved building things, like the treehouse.
Oh, crazy treehouse. He nearly broke his neck falling out of that thing.
As someone who has recently had quite a few instances of death this year, I found this episode to be really cathartic to watch. It's really hard to talk about somebody that you care about in past tense and even talk about them at all when you know the reality that they're no longer here. However, being able to express how you're feeling and that loss is so important and actually instrumental in being able to find a way to move forward. Back to the end of this episode, Erica actually walks into what she thinks is going to be Dr. Tom's therapist office and is actually somebody called Dr. Nadia's.
Hello, Erica. Who are you? I'm Nadia, your new therapist.
Dun dun dun. This is definitely, hands down, my favorite season of Being Erica because the law of therapy and time travel is expanded upon. We learn more about how it works and what you can actually do with it. The evolution of the characters' relationships with each other as well is very well progressed. And I just feel like Erica has the most growth in this season, and kind of by extension, so do we as the viewer. So episode 1, Being Dr. Tom, we pick up where we left off with the last episode. But just to let you know, trigger warning, this episode has themes of suicide, so please click to this timestamp if that is uncomfortable for you. So Dr. Nadia, who we were introduced to in the season finale, explains to Erica that Dr. Tom no longer wants her as a patient, which leads Erica to want to quit therapy altogether. To help Erica understand, Dr. Nadia takes Erica to Tom's past. We learn that in his past, Dr. Tom is essentially an angry, often violent alcoholic who has been estranged from his wife and daughter. He even actually attempts suicide in his past as well. And after seeing this, Erica finds herself in Dr. Tom's office, who apologizes for how he treated her when they last saw each other. He admits to her that when she saved Leo, it really hit a nerve with him because he wasn't actually able to do the same for his own daughter, who we learn ran away from home and actually becomes a homeless drug addict. He explains to Erica how his actions towards her in the finale made him feel like he's still that person from his past and that he hasn't changed all that much, and therefore doesn't deserve to be her therapist. So he tries to convince her to continue therapy with Dr. Nadia, however, she refuses.
I mean, so what if you're not perfect? Is that really what this all comes down to? You thought that you were done making mistakes and being overwhelmed by the past and you need to quit? The one regret I don't have, Dr. Tom, is you.
At the end of the episode, Erica hits her new local cafe and the barista, Kai, we see him go to the cupboard to get more, I don't know, coffee or something. And Erica sees that it's actually another therapist's office.
Don't worry about it, it's...
Oh, damn it.
There's someone else who does therapy. I love this twist. I ate it up because now there's finally somebody in this show who is also going through therapy that Erica can talk to. She can actually talk and converse with another patient. Kai is also just such a great addition as he's a really likable, charismatic character, and full disclosure, I actually wanted him to end up with Erica, but their situation was too complicated because essentially he's actually from the future and has come back to his past, i.e. Erica's present, in order to undo a regret, but decided to just stay there because he doesn't want to go back to his old life. Episode 5, Yes We Can, for me is a very sentimental, significant one because it's the first episode of being Erica. I actually remember really resonating with the lesson because the lesson is like simple enough for anyone to understand it, and at the time I was quite young, but it's a really important lesson, especially in today's context. After a pretty crapola day where Erica felt super restrained from doing what she actually wants to do, such as wanting to talk and hang out with Kai but not being able to because it would make her boyfriend Ethan jealous, wanted to tell an author she's working with who 100% would be an Andrew Tate stan to shove it.
Bang! Pow! Look at it, right there, right there. Pow! Right there. You see that look? Pow! Right there. You see that?
So Dr. Tom basically gives Erica a do-over day where she can essentially do whatever she wants and nothing will stick. At first, it's going really well.
God, Erica, what the hell has gotten into you?
Erica reassures Ethan that there's nothing going on between her and Kai, which enables her to actually hang out with him for the day, especially because he's another patient. He actually is able to like be the only person really who can take full advantage of this day. She also tells her boss to shove it and feels really good about that.
And you, you need to get over yourself. Seriously, the secret of now sucked.
Get her, Jay.
Just when Erica thinks she should be living her life like this all the time, because why wouldn't you just be honest and do what's true to you and let the chips fall where they may, things start to fall apart. When Erica does confront her sister's husband, Josh, her sister retaliates.
You are so arrogant. You think that you can just say anything that you want to me, to Josh. I want to get me and my husband as far away as I can from you.
Her and Ethan fall out after he finds out that she spent the whole day with Kai, and Kai actually ends up kissing Erica. No! Which proves Ethan's suspicions were right. Just when it's literally about to implode and Erica's life is about to break apart, Dr. Tom transports her back to the original timeline, i.e. the day where she did actually restrain herself. When Erica and Dr. Tom speak again, he relays the lesson to her plain and simple.
Everything has a consequence, Erica. Every action has a reaction.
And this is super interesting because recently there has been a shift in the mindset that's pushed by the media to encourage individuals to focus on themselves and be more selfish because it'll get you further, and it's a way of loving yourself and prioritizing you. However, videos such as Ollie Samveer's Self-Centeredness is Not Self-Care, Losing the Human Face Online explores this notion using philosophy and essentially why this logic is flawed. So I'd highly recommend watching her video. The conclusion she comes to in her video basically follows my own personal stance on this situation, which is, while I'm all for people being selfish to a degree and putting yourself first, I feel like sometimes the very act of doing this can disregard those around you and how those actions of yours can negatively impact others, which personally I just don't support. And that's why not only did this episode resonate with me back then when I was really young, but continues to resonate with me now and even be relevant in our broader social context. Episode 11, titled What Goes Up Must Come Down, shows Erica's life going from probably the best it's been, where the book that she has been working on the entirety of the show finally gets published, to rock bottom, where in order to know the longer story, I recommend watching the show, but her and her boss Julianne get fired from their company River Rock. In therapy, Erica is basically so overwhelmed by how hard life is, in that just when it's going good, everything goes to shit and it never really seems to end. And she explains that sometimes she just wishes she had an out and could have a situation where she didn't have to worry about anything. She visits a regret where, long story short, she ended up exorbitantly rich in her 20s. When first settling into this reality, Erica is living her best life, getting massages with Shayna, enjoying her massive ass mansion. However, nothing is as good as it seems, as Erica learns that she is a completely different person now and has become estranged from her friends, shallow and frivolous.
You used to be ambitious. Ever since you cashed in, all you do is shop or travel or go to party. You don't even try anymore.
After feeling disillusioned that this isn't a life that she would have wanted for herself and isn't the kind of person she would want to be, Erica is transported to a few years later in this timeline where she is working at the same call center that she was in the pilot episode and is broke living with her mum. This is because she basically lost all her money and had to start from scratch. At her mum's house, Erica is feeling fed up and kind of just wants her old life back, and Erica's mum gives her some really great advice that's applicable to her situation.
Life deals you a hand, and no matter what cards you're holding, you have to play them. And honey, it's hard. And it never stops being hard. But you learn, and you change, and you grow. And even in my darkest moments, Erica, I remind myself, it's the reason we're all here.
After this conversation, with a fire up her ass and a new perspective, Erica goes to River Rock, i.e. the publishing company that she applied to in season 1, and applies for the assistant position, which puts her on the right path, and she's transported to the initial timeline. With this newfound perspective, Erica decides to see her getting fired as an opportunity rather than a setback, and decides to start a publishing company with her old boss, Julianne.
Let's start a company together. We got fired, and it's a setback. But it's also an opportunity to try something. Maybe this is the universe's way of giving us a push.
I love this lesson because personally, for a year that's been full of some unbelievable highs and unfathomable lows, I'm reminded that this very chaos is the beauty of life.
All those hard years, all that struggle to find my way, it made me better.
Life is messy a lot of the time, and it only really gets messier as you get older. But as Dr. Tom would say, in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. Albert Einstein. The series finale, The Importance of Being Erica, is a really special episode. In the beginning, Erica's boyfriend basically convinces her not to start a publishing company, which as a result makes her feel super unsure of herself and what to do next. In therapy, Dr. Tom takes Erica to an alleyway with a bunch of doors and asks her to pick one, which only overwhelms her more. Instead, Dr. Tom takes Erica back to a regret that was about her thesis advisor and how after an error in sending a bunch of emails complaining about her thesis advisor to her thesis advisor ended up withdrawing from being Erica's thesis advisor. Drink every time I say thesis advisor. Upon visiting the regret, Erica manages to not send the email. However, after taking Ethan's advice once again, because they were friends at college, the thesis advisor ends up withdrawing from that position anyway. When confronting the professor one more time, Erica learns that the reason why the professor doesn't like her is because she doesn't really know what she wants to do with her life, let alone her thesis. And this leads Erica to have a huge breakthrough and figure out what she actually does want at her core.
Why are you here?
I want to be an editor. I want to publish books. And I want to start my own company. As crazy as that sounds.
Leave the degrees to the academics. You follow your heart. Erica, don't you let anyone try to stop you.
In the B plot, Erica helps get Kai to a position where he does finally undo his regret and get transported back to his original present, which gives us this absolute bop.
Lift your eyes and let me in. 'Cause baby, I'm an alien like you. Will you ever let me be an alien with you?
That's literally the only reason I'm mentioning it, because I just had to show you this song. When Erica finally tells Ethan that she does want to start this publishing company, he doesn't approve. This actually leads Erica to realize that she does need to break up with him.
I don't think that we're right for each other. There's no amount of talking that's gonna fix it, Ethan. It's just, it's a fundamental difference between us.
This is a big thing because since season 1, we have watched their journey of being college best friends, 2 lovers. So this is like a big plot point. I really don't think I can stress that enough. And even though it was shocking, I absolutely love this outcome because the writers sprinkle in throughout season 2 fundamental issues in Erica and Ethan's relationship that shows that they're not right for each other. And I love seeing Erica's progression to realizing that herself. This doesn't make the breakup any less emotional though, because the scene where they break up is just such a beautiful and realistic depiction of what it's like to break up with someone when it's not that you don't love this person person, but it's because you fundamentally aren't right for each other. At the end of the episode, Dr. Tom takes Erica back to that alleyway and asks her to pick a door. As Erica explains, she's basically in the same position as she was in season 1. She has no job, no boyfriend, and, you know, things aren't great. However, this time it's different because she's different.
It made me realize how much I've changed. Everything that you've taught me, it's made me braver somehow. And fear, it no longer holds me back. It actually motivates me.
After all that therapy has taught her, she's finally able to embrace these challenges and changes with bravery and perspective. And in the final moments of the episode, Erica chooses a door. If the show had ended here, I would have been so satisfied because I kind of like how it ends without the viewer actually knowing where this door leads, what's next for Erica. All we know is that she's now at a position in her life where she can tackle those challenges. And I love how the writers put her in that exact same position as we started with her in the pilot episode, because we can directly see how she has evolved and grown since starting therapy. I just like how the show feels complete, yet has that open-endedness that leaves you, 1, hypothesizing what's next, and 2, wanting more, which is always, for me, a good position to leave a show in. Luckily though, we do have 2 more seasons of Being Erica. This season is definitely one that has some of the most influential lessons of the entire show, and you'll notice that as we talk a lot more in depth about these episodes than we have about season 2 or season 1. However, my only qualms with it, the writers definitely amped up the drama almost to an unnecessary degree. To describe season 3 in a nutshell, Erica is basically getting ready for the next phase of therapy and also focusing on publishing the first book with her company. With episode 1 being titled The Rabbit Hole, the lesson isn't really relevant, but it's important to establish what actually happens in the episode because it explains like the next phases of therapy. So basically when Erica walks through that door, she enters group therapy, where she meets a bunch of Dr. Tom's other patients and learns that the end goal of this therapy journey and process is that you actually become a doctor, like Dr. Tom. That is kind of a crazy plot like twist slash element when you think about it. And I almost like how the journey of the show and its characters is almost circular then in that way, because you become a patient, you learn how to fix your problems, and then you take those lessons that you learned to pay it forward and help others. I also like that it does explain how these time traveling doctors even come to exist. Jumping to episode 4, Wash, Rinse, Repeat, this is another really fascinating episode about death. To start with, the character Kai returns on a regret from the future.
I did the one thing you told me not to do. I tried to find you in 2019 and I can't, Erica. I can't find you. 9 years from now, something awful is going to happen here.
Before he can say any more, he's pulled out of his regret back to his present, and Erica essentially comes to the conclusion that she's probably dead. This causes her to absolutely freak out, as it would do anyone in her situation. So in her therapy session, Dr. Tom puts Erica in almost a Groundhog Day situation where she is just reliving that day that Kai told her that news over and over again. This causes her to get really irritated and lash out because she doesn't actually know what lesson there is to be learned from this. That is until the 11th do-over, when Kai comes to her door and she basically tells him she doesn't want to hear what he has to say. She just wants to talk because they've had this conversation that many times. This actually leads Kai to tell her something that once again is very applicable to her situation.
And I needed to get to a point where I could accept that the past is the past. And if I'm going to get anywhere at all, I got to focus on the present. Which is the only place you're supposed to be.
This realization helps her to finally break the loop. In the B plot, Erica's mom tells her that she has breast cancer, and yet when it comes time for the family to have dinner together, her mom is in very positive spirits and really living and embracing the present. Once again, this gives Erica that perspective that she needs to do the same.
You get what everyone else gets, Erica. You get one life. And it's not about how long or short it is.
It's what you do with it.
At the moment, the idea of death is making me extremely anxious, and this has been like exacerbated with my recent experiences with death. It's something that now I just kind of uncontrollably think about, like it just pops into my brain with no warning. Like recently I'll just be doing something and then out of nowhere my brain is just like, What if you died? While I haven't mastered how to keep these thoughts at bay, this episode helps me remind myself to live in and embrace the present, because thinking about when life will end is honestly, when you think about it, just a pointless exercise, whereas the idea that life does end is what makes time so precious and often propels us to keep moving forward and go after the things that we want. This episode also serves as a reminder that, as morbid as this sounds, a long life is not something that is promised to us. It's something that we just assume we're going to have, but it isn't a given. And that's why it is really important to remember that every day is a gift and a blessing. Episode 7, Jenny from the Block, is yet another one that resonates with me a lot. Jenny is one of Erica's oldest friends, and she's had numerous recurrences throughout the series. And the things we know about Jenny is that she's chaotic, she loves to take risks, she's a bit boy crazy. This combination gets her into a lot of sticky situations that she often gets Erica's help to get out of. The last time we saw her, she decided to move to LA with a guy she had known for a couple of days, and Erica had advised her not to do it. But Jenny did it anyway, and as a result, Erica hasn't heard from her since.
I am so random, I can't believe I just did that. Sorry.
In this episode, Jenny shows up to Erica's apartment with basically a tail between her legs, telling Erica that she was right. To help Jenny get back up on her feet like any good friend would, Erica offers Jenny the job of being her and Julianne's assistant, as they're in desperate need of one. However, Jenny isn't very good at her job, which leads Erica to have to basically hold her hand throughout the entire process, which prevents her from doing the work that she has to do. In group therapy, Erica gets taken back to a time where her and Jenny were working a similar job at school, and Jenny went off to hang out with a boy, abandoning her duties and leaving Erica to pick up her slack. Going back to undo the regret, events transpire where Erica ends up doing the same thing anyway and falling into the same pattern of helping Jenny when she makes a mistake. I forgot to say, like, the whole reason why that was kind of a regret was because they got fired as a result. And so as a result, they get fired anyway. The difference with this time is Jenny tells Erica that this was the exact wake-up call that she needed.
This was a huge wake-up call for me. I know I can always count on you.
It's important to mention that in the B plot, one of Erica and Julianne's old co-workers, Brent, who used to be like one of their best friends and is now their enemy as he works for the publishing company that they used to work for, he starts dating Jenny as a way to get intel on what Julianne and Erica's business is up to. And because Jenny's boy crazy, she essentially makes the perfect bait, and she goes on to actually tell Brent about the promising manuscript that Erica and Julianne are having a look at. Jenny brings Brent back to Erica and Julianne's office to hook up, where he's able to get a peek at the manuscript, and Julianne and Erica catch them.
I'm confused. You know Brad? Yes, Jenny, we know him. Just go.
Unfortunately, though, the damage is done because basically the next day, the manuscript is bought by Erica and Julianne's old company. This was directly because of Jenny's actions. This leads Erica to learn that she essentially has outgrown her relationship with Jenny, and nothing about their relationship has changed to benefit Erica the same way it does Jenny.
Jenny screws up and you save the day. She feels grateful and you feel needed. Over and over and over again. Ask yourself, Erica, what is it exactly that you get out of this friendship?
So Erica decides to end their friendship. Friendship is something I spend a lot of my time thinking about, and it's definitely something that I want to make a future video about. I have definitely been in Erica's situation before. Friendship breakups can be just as hard, if not harder, than romantic ones, which I really love that the show depicted. Like, there are quite a few friendships that even now I still mourn and think about how that person is doing and kind of wish that they were still part of my life, but genuinely couldn't be for like my own mental health and well-being. And this realization can be super difficult to come to, especially when you love that person. I also think personally that it's kind of a problem and something I've noticed that people really don't actually think that hard about the people who they allow to be close in their lives and the people who they let into that inner circle, because your friendships really do have such an influence on you as a person. Like, even one of my friends were talking about this recently, where he said, you are the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you're investing in relationships where you're not getting the same effort back, or they treat you and other people, which I think is a big one for me, if they're treating you or other people poorly, then it's worth actually reflecting on, you know, what this friendship actually provides you with, how it serves you, and whether it's even worth keeping that person in your life. That being said though, what I do love about this show is characters that Erica either either, you know, breaks up with or cuts ties with, they become recurring characters and grow and change just like she does. Jenny and Erica do get to a stage at the end of the show where they can be friends again because Jenny has grown as a person and is now able to put just as much effort into the relationship as Erica does. If you enjoyed my work and purpose video, which is the last one I uploaded, then this episode, The Tribe Has Spoken, will likely resonate with you. In the past couple of episodes, Erica and Julianne's company basically took a massive hit, and as a result, it's likely their company won't recover. Erica is then offered essentially a dream job in publishing by her old nemesis, actually, Antigone Morris from season 1. Just see what I mean about the characters that Erica used to dislike coming back and having grown and evolved themselves. You see it, you see it. And in the B plot, another one of Tom's patients, Adam, who ends up becoming Erica's love interest, is struggling with his feelings for Erica versus basically him dating a woman that in a previous life that Tom showed him was his wife. So while Erica and Adam are trying to figure out what they should do about their respective situations, they're both transported to an island by Dr. Tom and instructed to figure out their way to the other side. On the island, Adam admits that he struggles to be brave and bold and not go for the safe, tried and tested options, which would be, in his situation, going and taking a risk with Erica, or going with the safe option of Beatrice, who he knows in a previous life fell in love with him and was his wife. And from this realization, takes a chance and kisses Erica. This leads Erica to realize that the island itself is almost a metaphor.
The woods, they represent my challenge. You know, do I take the job? Do I take the safe route? Or do I fight for my company and carve my own path?
Together and hand in hand, they both carve their way to the other side of the island by taking unconventional routes and just kind of making it up as they go along. They do eventually make it. To me, this episode accurately reflects how there can be so much external and internal pressure to follow a particular path in various aspects of life, whether that's because the path is less risky, less unknown, or because it's tradition and the norm. The best example of this is obviously career related and the trajectory your career takes, but it can also be applied to so many other contexts. Like, one that resonates for me at the moment is the milestones of adulthood, and how the typical traditional things that have been the norm for ages now is buying property, getting married, and having children. For some people, I would also argue a lot if people really thought about it, taking that tried and tested route can often feel restrictive and not true to yourself. Carving your own path, however, I feel is a message, like many in this video, that is so underrated, because as individuals, we do find it really difficult to deviate from the norm or safe options, but by carving your own path, you create new opportunities to learn new things about yourself. Even starting this little YouTube channel was, for me, a way of carving my own path as well. Because as common as it is nowadays to be, you know, a content creator in some form, like everyone seems to have their own little small business or side hustle that deals in content, it is still somewhat unconventional, especially in a lot of the circles I run in, and really did require me, and continues to do so, to put myself out on a limb and take a risk. Aside from this lesson is also a really great reminder that it is never too late to do that, as Erica even started her business at 34. Moving on to the season finale, Erica Interrupted, we see Erica at basically the happiest she's ever been.
Today has been the perfect day. Surrounded by all these people that I love. Everything, it just feels right. With work and with my family and you. You know, this therapy thing, I think everyone should do it.
She finally has a sense of agency and control over her own life. However, after a beautiful engagement party for 2 of her closest friends, Erica wakes up to find herself in a hospital bed and a Dr. Tom dressed as an actual doctor.
Why have you sent me back here? Miss Strange, you don't understand. You've been in a coma for 2 weeks.
We are now back in the pilot episode just after Erica woke up from her anaphylactic shock. Erica is super confused by it all because it basically seems like everything that happened after Dr. Tom came into her life never existed. I can't stress to you how terrifying this would be. It really does set her back to square one. She's basically told that all these events that have led us up to season 3 have essentially been hallucinations and illusions from her being in a coma. Struggling to grasp that this is in fact reality, as I'm sure any of us would, she ends up getting paid a visit from an actual therapist who tries to convince Erica that this is reality now. At night, Erica goes on a walk and Leo appears, but obviously as a figment of her imagination.
I woke up yesterday morning to find out that my whole life is gone, Leo. It was worse than gone. It was like it didn't exist. It was a dream.
I At first, Leo is very helpful in helping Erica process the fact that this is her reality now. However, for some reason gets really antagonistic, basically vocalizing all of the fears and anxieties she has about this being her life now.
Your entire life, everything you worked for, it was all a fantasy.
You know that friend you have? The one that seems to have it all figured out? She's got the great job, great guy, great life? Well, you're not that girl.
It is at this very moment, though, that Erica realizes that even though therapy may not have even been real, she's still been changed by it. With this understanding, she's then transported to Dr. Tom's office, who tells her that she's passed the test and will now start doctor training. Can we just talk about how utterly just ridiculous that final test is? Like, talk about brutal. The end of the series finale shows Dr. Tom telling Erica that she's about to meet her first patient and getting tapped on the shoulder. While season 4 definitely has some standout episodes, it doesn't really do it for me the same way the other seasons do. And this is because the lessons that we learn are less to do with Erica as a person and more to do with her learning how to be a good doctor. Therefore, the lessons that we learn don't necessarily apply as easily to our own lives. I definitely don't dislike this season, I just enjoy it less. It's still entertaining watching Erica become a doctor in training, and the progression of the season is super well thought through by the writers. Jumping ahead to episode 6, If I Could Turn Back Time, things are really tense between Adam and Erica because Adam basically feels like Erica is constantly trying to micromanage and control his life, which prevents him from actually being able to make his own decisions. This is evident in Adam wanting to quit the landscaping course he's been taking to take up a high-paying foreman job instead, but Erica wanting him to remain in school so that he has better opportunities in the future. In doctor training with Dr. Tom, Erica gets one day to experience the perks of being a doctor, which is obviously space and time travel. So for one day, she gets granted the gifts of space and time travel for 24 hours.
You'll only be able to manipulate time within today. You can't go into the future and you can't go into the past beyond this morning. You can, however, manipulate space. So any doorway that you go through will lead you to wherever you want to be.
With this power, Erica decides to go back in time to change her reaction to hearing Adam's news that he's going to quit school. But it doesn't work, so to try and ease the tension, Erica takes Adam to Dublin, where he's originally from, and they have a really nice date until Erica asks him where he sees himself in 5 years, which Adam perceives to be just another way in which Erica's trying to control his life. They start arguing again, and Adam just tells Erica flat out that he probably needs to break up.
You want to control my each and every move, and I'm suffocating. I'm done, Erica.
Back in therapy, Erica decides because she has these powers, she'll go back to when Adam told her one more time.
If that's what you want to do, then I support you. 100%.
I was worried that you would find this hard to deal with.
In the evening, Erica makes Adam some comfort food from Dublin.
I couldn't bring myself to make your favorite dish, blood pudding.
How did you know blood pudding was my favorite?
I guess you must have told me.
She only knows this because of their trip to Dublin, which technically for Adam hasn't happened. His growing suspicion leads Erica to tell him the truth.
What about my say in my own life?
I wanted to stop being so controlling.
And so you did the most controlling thing you've ever done. You took away my free will.
Adam ends up breaking up with Erica anyway. This episode is so fascinating to me as it was quite ahead of its time when dealing with the topic of time travel infringing on people's free will. I would highly recommend a YouTube video by one of my favorite commentary YouTubers, Rowan Ellis, and her video, The Creepy Implications of Time Travel Rom-Coms. She basically touches on everything that I would probably say here had she not said it already. If you want a synopsis, there are many truly beloved time travel movies that have become classics now, where the romantic interest of the protagonist has no idea that the protagonist can actually time travel and essentially control and manipulate every interaction these two have to get the outcome that they want, which gives the protagonist an unbridled amount of power in the relationship. And this would be all well and good if the movies, actually tried to delve into the intricacies and ethics of that. However, instead, they almost always focus on glorifying this act because what more noble goal is there than the pursuit of love? Even though the love interest has absolutely no awareness that this is happening to them, and neither do they have any ability to control their situation. And this is why Being Erica is so good, because the writers don't let Erica get away with this. Adam actively condemns Erica for doing it, because she essentially made his decision for him and used her doctor powers for her own gain to get the outcome that she wanted, regardless of how it would make him feel. At the end of the show, Adam and Erica do end up together, because he does end up coming to terms with this and managing to forgive her. But the outcome of this episode still does enough to teach Erica a valuable lesson about avoiding abusing her powers and resisting the urge to use her time travel abilities for her own gain. Episode 8, Please Please Tell Me Now, Kai really wants to tell Erica the real reason why he can't find her in his timeline. Instead of getting pulled out like he was last time, his doctor, Dr. Fred, comes in person. Erica tells him, I already know that I'm dead, like I've come to that conclusion by myself, and he basically does give her the details of her death, which causes her to once again spiral.
But the future, it's a big question mark. You could get struck by lightning tomorrow. I could get hit by a car.
After a really hard day and she returns home from work, she finds her future 43-year-old self in her living room.
Hello, Erica.
Her future self explains to Erica how there are multiple different realities.
Behind this door, Kai and Dr. Fred, they don't tell you about 2019, and you die. Behind this door, they do tell you. And because you know what happens in 2019, you avoid it, and you survive. Stop allowing your future to dictate your present.
Before we get into Being Erica's series finale, throughout the series, Dr. Tom has kind of been struggling to find a life outside of his work, i.e. therapy. But in the final season, he finally gets into a relationship with an old flame of his, but is struggling to balance hiding the fact that he has this huge part of his life that he can't tell her about, and as a result has decided to retire from therapy. However, Dr. Nadia informs him that if he chooses to retire from therapy, along with obviously losing his powers and all that stuff that you would expect, he actually can't ever speak to his patients again, which basically, as we know, means that he'll never get to see Erica again. Series finale, Dr. Erica, let's do this. At the beginning, Erica starts getting flashes of somebody's life in her head, and Dr. Tom explains to her that this is what happens when you connect with a patient, and she's now finally a doctor. He also finally discloses to Erica that he is retiring from therapy and what this means.
After I leave, you and I won't be permitted to see each other ever again.
Naturally, she gets really emotional. This makes Tom actually second guess his decision, because he ends up feeling like he's leaving her when she needs him the most, and decides to put a pin in his whole retirement. Dr. Nadia informs Erica of this before Dr. Tom can, because she wants Erica to convince him that he should move on and live his life. But Erica is all too satisfied with this outcome, because it means that she can still keep seeing Dr. Tom. This leads Dr. Nadia to transport Erica to her final lesson.
I woke up in this hallway and I've been here ever since.
But Leo, that was 15 years ago. This is what you do. You go back and you relive different days of your life over and over again. This is you holding on to something that's already over.
Erica realizes through Leo that she's essentially doing the same thing, refusing to move on and go to that next phase, no matter how scary and uncomfortable it is.
When we resist the change that wants to happen, that needs to happen, we do more damage than we realize. We violate the natural order of life.
There is no constant but change.
She goes to Dr. Tom and convinces him to retire.
Thank you for changing my life.
Thank you for changing mine. I've had many patients, Erica, but none who are as special to me as you.
Goodbye, Dr. Tom.
Goodbye, Erica.
When Erica finally does meet her patient, we learn that it is Sarah, Dr. Tom's daughter.
Your parents are Tom and Marjorie Wexler, type A personalities, unhappy marriage. You cracked under the pressure and you ran away from home and you got hooked on heroin. You came back, you robbed them blind, and you ended up in jail. Who are you? I am someone who wants to help you.
The show ends with a montage of all the characters we've come to love moving on, such as Erica and Adam moving in together, and Leo finally walking through the door and leaving the corridor.
Today is the end of one chapter, and the beginning of the rest of my life.
Being Erica is literally at its crux about a woman getting therapy, which already was a concept that I would say was way more ahead of its time than people realize. In this day and age, therapy and prioritizing mental health is highly normalized, and some would say has officially entered the zeitgeist with the rise in the use of therapy speak and exponentially increasing prevalence of people getting diagnosed with mental health conditions. Whereas back in the early 2000s, cognitive behavioral therapy, which is essentially what Erica is doing minus the time travel part, was yes gaining popularity, but definitely wasn't considered something that everyone and anyone should have access to. It was very much reserved for those who had very outward and severe symptoms of mental health problems. Generally, in the early 2000s, you were kind of almost judged if you sought therapy and there was like nothing outwardly wrong with you. So as well as this therapy aspect of the show, we of course have the magical added element of time travel. This pivotal element of the show enables us as viewers to immerse ourselves in this different kind of world with its own distinctive lore, which is just really entertaining and fascinating as a viewer. These key elements of the plot make being Erica so multifaceted, and they actually play with each other to enable the show to deliver the message that it wants to for its audience. The writing is also just stellar, as these writers are working with really complicated concepts and philosophies that have multiple perspectives, yet manage to make them digestible and relatable for its audience.
Everything I ever wanted to be.
To avoid this video being multiple hours long, I did avoid talking about many of the really well written and lovable peripheral characters in Being Erica, which is honestly a shame because they are what make the show so fantastic. They're written in a way where you can really see yourself in them. These lessons wouldn't be nearly as resonant to the audience had they not been carried out and experienced by such relatable and tangible characters. And with that, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate your time and hope this has given you a new Anishna approved TV show to binge. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a like and share your thoughts about what you thought about anything I've said in the comments below. Lastly, if you'd like to join the family, please consider subscribing, as we would absolutely love to have you. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.